Hello, my friend.
Hello, it's Andrew Eborn here, and I am joined, as you can probably tell, by the wonderful Jonathan Hansler. How are you, Jonathan?
I'm good, actually. Yeah, yeah. I'm just sitting in my garden. I'm afraid someone seems to be hoovering, but can you hear that? Is that all right? Can you
I
hear
know,
me okay?
I love a bit of hoovering. It shows that it's domestic.
Yeah,
And if they're hoovering
yeah.
in your garden, they're not doing it right, are
No,
they?
they're not hoovering my garden. Somebody's in another house hoovering, so I don't know. Yeah.
It's glorious. Well, I am intrigued because you sent me a little message and you said, look, Andrew, I have something rather special I want to share with you today, and I'd love to
Yeah.
have the show to talk about it. What's going on?
Well, I'm 6.5 years dry.
Good heavens.
Um, yeah, yeah, and it's been a real journey. It's not an easy journey. I would say a difficult journey in many, many ways. But they say the things are here to try us. We're not. Life was never meant to be easy. If it was easy, well, you probably not lived it that well. Do you know what I mean? So I don't know. Yeah, it's things. Lockdown's been a very funny time for me because it's been a time. I've been on my own now for I don't know how long is it, 150 days, something weird like that. I don't know. It seems like an eternity, but actually I've filled it well, and I've been able to work out stuff and do stuff that I would never have been able to do if lockdown hadn't happened. If we
What, what,
hadn't had
what, sort of,
lockdown.
what sort of things have you been up to? I've seen some of the things because you've been posting very helpfully on social media. And
Yeah, a lot of meditation. And I started off just doing general meditation. And then I got to read. I was beautifully sent by a wonderful lady called Chloe Partridge, who's just a lovely girl, brilliant actress, but just a lovely person as a human being. And she sent me A New Earth by Eckhart Tolle. And I don't know if you know Eckhart Tolle. Do you know of Eckhart
a
Tolle?
little bit, because we've spoken about it briefly beforehand. But for the benefit of all the zillions of people out there, tell us a bit more.
Well, Eckhart Tolle is extraordinary because if I can sum it up, he believes in being, in the sense we are human beings. There are two different spheres. There's a human and a being, if you like. The human is the doing, as it were. I always think the Doobie Brothers should have been called the Be-Do Brothers. They would have done a lot better. But you know, but it's not, on a serious level. It is an incredible thing, because if we are so concerned with our thoughts, all our thoughts are, no one's going to like me because I did this. No one, I've got to do this now. Oh no, and they just get in our head all the time. But if we can stay in the present moment, then those thoughts go eventually. They'll be there for a while, but once you can sort of negate them and just think of them as drifting things that go in and out, and they're not part of your psyche because they're not real. The ego plays many, many games on you. What is real is your being, your essence, who you are as a human being. That is real. The rest of it is all made up stuff that's come over the years and years of your mind playing games on you, and things like that is unnecessary. I mean, it's good to have an ego because it helps you, but if you can put being onto the ego, so if I'm doing things and I want to focus, then I have to be in the now to focus. Okay? But I'll focus very well on what I have to do if I stay in the moment. But if I lose the moment, then we go into problem city, because the ego starts to attack and plays games with you and all that kind of shit, so it's yeah.
And it really is, it's that realization which underlies the work, isn't it? And so reading that
Yeah,
book and encapsulating it so beautifully and eloquently as you did in that one sentence, and it goes on for pages and gives all sorts of examples, but in
yeah, it's got a
essence,
very basic
that's it.
truth though. And that's the wonderful thing you need in self-help. I've got shelf-help. And you see my shelf-help, it's just ridiculous. I've got books, I've got rows and rows of shelf-help, just stuff. If I could have only found out all those years ago, before I started drinking, before I started doing anything, that it was all about being.
Right.
It's all about being. If we can get there, then we'll have a happy life. But we are so preoccupied, especially in this world. I mean, what world am I in? Jesus, the most egotistical. Oh, everyone trying to climb up one ladder, someone trying to help. Well, I'm not going to be, there are helpers and there are very kind people out there, but a lot of people don't pull the ladder down, even people you've known over the years. And I've worked with some people, some well-known faces in my time, but the ladder doesn't come down, and that's fine. That's fine. People have forgotten, they move on. That's fine. That's not a problem. But I think that, again, that's my ego talking now. That's not me. That's my ego. That's the ego on top of the being, as it were. Do you know what I mean? Does that make sense?
Totally. And the other thing that you realize, Jonathan, I've spoken to lots of people on this show about it, is that as a profession, the performers as a profession are actually terribly insecure.
God, yes, I'm hugely insecure.
That insecurity that leads people either to be very supportive of those who need the help, they need the ladder going up, or you're going to be terribly destructive, in which case it's not about your career trying to be successful. You want to be successful, but you want to destroy other people as well. And people...
So many people do. Why? I don't get it. No. I mean,
well, it's
I'm a stubborn old sod. If you cross me, I am not very easy forgivable.
Yeah.
I find that quite hard. But if you don't, I've got no reason to, have axes to grind, as it were. I certainly don't want to nowadays, because I found the being. Now I'm sort of in being and just trying to be in the moment more and more, which is one of the great things they talk about in this business. If you can be in the moment, you'll be very successful. But we are so wound up with all this yin and yang and stuff. Oh, I'm not good enough. I'm not working hard enough. I'm not doing that. I should be doing that. Why aren't I doing this? Why am I writing an email? Why aren't I doing, I should have sent an invoice. I've forgotten to do that. Oh God, no one's going to want, but if we can just stay where we are, just stay in the moment, which is the now, the present, which is a present. It's a gift. So why not call it the present? But that's where we are, that's where we should be. Because if we stay in the now, we move on to the next moment, we're still in the now. There is no past. There is no future. There is only where we are.
Yeah, and I think it is, as you say, it's that realization. And the other thing that, as you know, I've been speaking to people around the world from every walk of life, and everybody is the same. We all suffer, albeit different things affect different people in different ways. But coming to that realization that it is about now, it's about the being, working out why people are responding in certain ways. Because the other thing that I find is so often that reality and perception are not aligned. And so often what we do, especially in this industry, people are horrible to each other. I've been shocked at how horrible people can be.
Yeah. There's a sort of vitriol, especially as you get older. I think if you don't have that moment of success when you're 24 or something, you're not taken up to the heights of whatever it is. But there are reasons why that doesn't happen, and certainly in my case why it hasn't, and and because of a lot of shit. So you've got to get over that shit, and when you do get over that shit, if you've got baggage, it's that baggage, unless you can it's like Scrooge in A Christmas Carol, when Marley comes with all the chains, and he's laden with chains, and he says, these are the chains I forged through the years because I wasn't able to get rid of them. Our life, when we end, one of the great things about being is that I don't want to offend religious people, but it's entirely up to you what your opinion is or your religious views are. But I don't believe there's a guy in the sky and all this kind of stuff. I believe that heaven is within ourselves. I believe that we are the being, or the soul, if you like, or the actual other being. The thing that happens when you're still and when you're in the moment and you're in being is when true reality happens. And that is the real core. That is our essence. That is our God. That is a sense God. And that is our soul. That is the invisible being, if you like. So when we go, that's what goes. We leave the husk behind, as it were. The ego is dropped. Can you imagine how wonderful it would be just to have that being without the ego?
Oh no, it'd be absolutely
amazing.
And we have a lot of people, and I've had lots of people from every color, creed, persuasion on the show talking about this sort of thing. And you're absolutely right. I think it's whatever religion you are, or no religion at all, it's actually how you live your life. Because why not treat people with respect? Why not try to understand where people are coming from? Why not realize that, as you and I have spoken about many times, it's okay not to be okay? Because that's the realization is actually quite comforting, isn't it?
It is. It's a wonderful state to be in, because you're in you're here. The worries go. You start to, if you can just focus on things. Also, you do things well, because you're in one moment. You're not in the future. You're not in the past. You're in that moment. So you are focusing on one thing. I'm focusing on talking to you now, but everything at the moment is in the present, because I'm going to move forward in the present. That was the past.
Yeah.
We're now in the present, So if you create and focus on what you're doing bit by bit by bit, then you are in a much better place than if you're full of thoughts and all this kind of stuff that bugs us.
Absolutely right. And again, going back to the profession, and because we both know lots of people in this profession, the reality is only a very, very small percentage can ever make it to the top echelons. And those who do manage to get to the top very, very rarely stay there. They normally clamber up, have a big flashing moment, and then they have the same insecurities and come tumbling down again.
Yeah.
Now, now it's not just the X factor. Sometimes people like being around people and people that they like. And so a word of advice is that some people who are backstabbing and snickety and everything else, word gets round, doesn't it?
Oh, yeah.
And so when you're picking somebody,
yeah,
there's a lot of talent out there.
When I was drinking, I wasn't fun. I know I wasn't fun because, and this is the thing about alcohol. This is what I hate about alcohol, because it's the exact thing. The ego loves alcohol. Oh, if the ego could have more and more alcohol, it'd have it all day, because it just turns your thought process into that. Oh, what are you saying that for? Oh, how dare you talk to me like that? Who do you think you are? Well, you come, it actually, once it gets into a bad state, I'm not saying you can, have a little drink to start off with, but as it gets worse, your ego is far fueled. It loves it. It'll suck it up and just say, I'm having a holiday here with your brain, mate. I'm having a ball. It's no wonder there's so many suicides happen, because the ego just takes over and screws you up, screws you in a ball and goes, fuck off, And so that's why I'm so glad that I'm clean now for 6.5 years. That's not everybody, but from where I've been in my life to where I am now, I mean, I should write a book, but from where I've been in my life to where I am now, and people say, oh, I've got a beautiful wife and children. I don't have that. Okay. And I understand that. I know you've got kids, but I have never had that. I've had some difficult relationships, and some of them probably been me. I'm a pretty screwed up guy, or I'm getting a lot better. But if I had a woman for these last 150 days, do you think I could have found out what I found out? Because we would have had to share, unless she was into kind of like literally spending days and days exploring Eckhart Tolle with me. I don't know. But if I'd been with someone, I could never be where I am now. I could never have found the pathway through. I mean, I'm not saying it's perfect. It may all disintegrate tomorrow and I may just be back to my usual self, but I don't think I will be, because to find this little piece of truth, which is so bloody obvious, it's almost painful. It's been there all along. It's like Sherlock Holmes. My God, it's been there all along. I never saw it in front of my eyes. It's that whole thing, isn't it? But finding that is essential. It's really essential.
And I think you're right, and that has been one of the good things about lockdown, is that people have managed to find some good in this. So they've had a chance to reflect, and some people, as you say, some people reflect better when they're by themselves, as you have been for the 150 days, and you suddenly
I feel like John the Baptist, more than John the Baptist, but in the wilderness, like help.
Anyone out there? 40 days and 40 nights for the other one, absolutely.
40 days, take a piece of piss. 40 days, 40 nights, a piece of piss. Could have walked it blindfold, mate, on fire, and on a bed of nails. No,
but different people have had a chance to reflect, and actually some have done really well, and their relationships have got closer as a result. Others have had a really tough time, because you're discovering things about people. And I think that's what we realize, is people are different, but there are a few common elements. And if you're giving people advice, and as I say, the great thing about peeking beneath the kimono and having brave people like you come on and talk about things, it means that people are not alone. And sometimes that's the catalyst they need to say, okay, he managed or she managed to cope, or they managed to cope in this particular way by these mechanisms. So when it's a bit back to talk about top tips and recommendations, it's actually not, it's meant to be a bit deeper, because coping mechanisms can take people years to find. And some find them. So it's so good to get you on here to say, okay, what are those coping mechanisms? What would you say to them?
Yeah. Well, my coping mechanisms have been literally exercise, meditation. I've done loads of exercise. I've got different formats I do every day. It's all on, I mean, I can send the stuff to you. It's on YouTube, but it's quite hardcore, lots of different reps, and just focusing on that. But meditation, I've done all these different, I've done Deepak Chopra, I did a bit of that, I've been experimenting and trying to find out the way through, like the pathway through. And I got to Eckhart Tolle and I went, why did I, you should see my self-help, 6.5 years ago, I read The Power of Now. It didn't mean anything to me. Why? Because I was a bloody alcoholic. I couldn't see anything. I did Landmark. I was on Landmark. And I don't know if you know the Landmark courses, but they do these, this whole thing. And if you do I did about 6 different courses, and you can get a black badge. And if you get a black badge, you're part of the Landmark forum. You're part of the Landmark gang, as it were. You run Landmark or whatever it is. It's a bit of a weird thing. It's like a kind of weird sort of self-help mafia, but it's like, yeah, you're part of the gang, you know. And I got so close. One guy beat me. He had a second chance, and he should never have had a second chance. But then again, that's my ego speaking. But yeah, he beat me to it, and I was never. But then I was never meant to be, because my alcohol was stopping me from being who I really was. I mean, it was a huge, you know, it's a facade. I was not really being myself, who I really am. And that is, by being, you can actually and ultimately be who you are.
And just one, we have spoken about this beforehand. The catalyst 6.5 years ago for you to decide, okay, enough is enough. I'm not going to drink again. What was that catalyst?
Meditation. I did 10 days meditation. I went away. I didn't have anyone at Christmas. I had nowhere to go. I mean, I'm not a huge fan of Christmas anyway, in some ways. So I decided to go to Norfolk, of all places, and do Vipassana meditation for 10 days. And I spent 10 days, you know, just literally, I think we got up at 4 o'clock in the morning, went to bed at 9 o'clock at night, and we meditated practically all day. And there was like vegetarian food, beautiful vegetarian food by monks and people like that. And it was extraordinary. And I did that solidly for 10 days. And then on the 24th of January, 2014, I went to a party. I had a very small film I'd done, and they had a little screening of it, and they had some very large glasses of red wine afterwards, and I had 4 of them, very big, not because I wanted to get drunk, but because I'd been through meditation, I want to see what the effect was the next day. So I drank these massive glasses of wine, and the next day I had a hangover like you wouldn't believe. But instead of being in the hangover, I was watching from outside the hangover. So I was able to see what this shit was doing to me, and I thought, this is going to kill me. This shit is killing me. I can't. No, bang. And that was it. That was my last taste of anything alcoholic.
So 6.5 years later, what do you think? So people watching this show who may be struggling, and there are those who can cope, and I understand it's part of their life, and if it's not something which takes over your life, which is what you were saying.
Yeah.
For those who alcohol has overtaken their life, or other addictions have overtaken their life, what advice would you give them?
Well, it's a very difficult path. I'm not saying it's easy. You can't just come off booze is very difficult. I mean, I would say go to AA. I mean, I didn't do that. I did it myself. So I didn't go through any, you know, it was just, I did it. It's very difficult. I would say, look at The Power of Now. I'd try and read it, but it's so difficult. I don't know the best way to do this. You've got to stop yourself. You've really got to find a way to stop yourself. To just literally cut booze is so difficult. I think the lockdowns help, because I know a lot of my friends don't drink anymore, because they managed to sort of say, oh, well, I you know, there's no pubs to go to. I don't need, you know, and suddenly they're realizing, okay, well, maybe I don't want this stuff. And that's great. But you kind of have to make that decision for yourself. And I would only say that Eckhart Tolle has helped me now because I'm sober. I think if I was reading that as an alcoholic, it would make no sense to me, because my mind would be already taken over by another drink or another drug or another smoke or another this or another that. That's the problem. You need a supremely clear and clean mind to focus on being, to be, you know, it's almost like a monk-like existence in a way. Well, not a monk-like existence, but you know, you are focused, you are in the now. And that's very difficult if you're drinking. I find it, I don't know the best. Alan Carr does books on giving up alcohol. I just didn't do it. I just stubbornly sort of refused and went on a sort of safari of non-drinking.
I think it's for a lot of things. I used to smoke a lot. I mean, it's a different sort of thing.
Yeah, so did I. Yeah,
I used to have the Marlboro Reds, and I had about sort of 2 packets a day, 40 of these Marlboro Reds. And I think
used to 555. Didn't they talk about the Ku Klux Klan on the with the KKK? All Red. Do you remember that? I don't know if that was myth or fiction or fact.
Well, yeah, well, all of that. But I used to have the Marlboro Reds, and it used to be on the phone. Well, it was just part of a habit. The time I gave up was when I was in hospital for a minor operation. It was in a private room. I was very privileged to have that sort of side. But next to my bed, when I woke up, there was an ashtray. And so because it was private and things like that, I could smoke in my room. And I thought, this is crazy. This is a hospital. I shouldn't be able to smoke in my room.
No, you shouldn't. No.
So I basically just said to myself, I'm never going to smoke again. And that was it. So I think
that's amazing, from an ashtray right next to you. That's amazing.
Isn't that right?
Yeah,
Because you could do it, That was my sort of power to stop smoking. Now, different things work for different people. And I think the message is, firstly, you're not alone. There are people out there who will talk about their experiences and why they gave up or what helped them. But try different solutions. Talk to other people. Try to work out what's important in your life. As you say, the power of now, understanding about relationships. You don't need to knock people down. Your success is not dependent on other people's failure.
No.
Stop all this backbiting. Stop saying nasty things about people. Build bridges and sort things out. I think that's a really powerful message, isn't it?
Absolutely. Absolutely. But you can obviously only do things little by little, but if you're in the moment, you can start to do them, and you'll do them better because you're focused. And focus is one of the most important things we have, you know, just being where we are. Just being at the moment, talking to you, you know, just being in that moment is really, really important. Well, but I want to talk about something else. I want to talk about...
I love it. Yes. Oh, you can talk about something else now.
About, Goodbye. Remember Goodbye, the little play that we wrote, which
yes,
online for a while, and well, Clive and I turned it into a sitcom.
Oh, well done.
We entered it for the Galton and Simpson Prize, because many years we worked with Ray and Alan, and we did a show called Not Tonight, Caligula many years ago, which was originally written for Frankie Howard before he died, but it never happened. But we sent this off to the BBC, but it's actually before the play starts, so it's set at Derek in a studio when they're doing Derek and Clive, and then it goes on from there, and it's a bit like a Hitchhiker's Guide, because it goes from Earth to the afterlife. So it's like where it's almost like at the very beginning, there's a guy in a house and he thinks they're going to put a super highway through, and then a spaceship comes down and they end up in a spaceship and all goes mad. It's a bit like that. So it's got that kind of mad, but we're sort of hoping something will happen with it. We've got ideas for different episodes, like 6 different episodes with different famous people, all trapped on the other side.
Brilliant. Well, that's fantastic.
What?
So where's it gone so far? Who have you shown it to so far?
Well, we sent it to the BBC for the Galton and Simpson Prize. I put it forward for London Comedy Writers for a reading of it. You know, I just sort of thought, well, what the hell, you know? And we originally had it as a short film, and I suddenly saw there was a sitcom there. I thought, well, why don't we just turn it to a sitcom? And I phoned up Clive. I said, well, let's rewrite it. Let's write this as a sitcom. It's not going to be hard. We've only got to put 30 pages. We've already got 28 pages. It's a short film. Let's just rehash it, and let's get a 6-part series together and see where we're going with that. And so we've done that. And you know, who knows? But at least it's something to have in your hand to say, yes, we've got this thing, this beast. It could happen on any channel if anybody wants.
And I think that's the great thing about this.
Comedians, you know.
Yeah, so rather than just stopping, and that's the other thing, I think this has been an incredibly productive time for some people. Others, I think, have just found it so difficult that they're so pleased to come out of it, or a bit scared to come out of it. But for you, and I know Clive as well, and Clive's been in touch about being on the programme, so we should absolutely get you both on. And we should talk about that.
We love it. Yeah. He's a bloody clever man. He's a super clever guy.
You work so well together as well, which is lovely.
Brilliant. You know, I think it's a real shame, and I'll be honest with you, that Pete and Dad hasn't. I mean, we started that in 22. This is my ego talking again. 2007 at the Gilded Balloon, and you know, and 13 years on, it hasn't really been touched. It has had its incarnations here and there, and I'm very grateful to those incarnations. It's had its time, and thank you to Kev Orkian, who's boosted it brilliantly last year at Dingwalls in Camden, which was, you know, had a
brilliant. I was there. I loved it.
Saw it. You came and saw it. You know, it had a great run. It sold out, got 300 people. You know, and that was wonderful. But it hasn't really had its justification. So hopefully, I think a television sitcom would be absolutely right for something like this. I just can see it. You know?
Absolutely.
We've got so many great comedians out there who can play those people.
Yeah.
You only have to look at the shows that have been in Edinburgh, the 2 guys who played Morecambe and Wise, because they're in the actual first episode, believe it or not. It's a very different concept to the way we've taken the play. But yeah, so you know, and they're different kind of other people who could be in it as angels, as different people, as clerks or whatever they are, or, you know, and then Clive, of course, as Leonard Rossiter, and somebody else as, you know, all these different, and me as Peter maybe, who knows. But I'm not really bothered, really. Even if they made the thing and said, John, you can't be in it, it would be an honor to have my script out there. And, you know, I played Peter Cook before, so what the fuck. But, you know, it's good to feel that we have a sitcom sitting there going, yeah, we could do something with this.
And again, I was talking. We had Oliver Stone on this morning, and he
My
was
God,
talking.
Oliver, you've
Yeah,
been
I
talking
know.
to people. I know you had Cronin on. I know you talked to
We did. Yeah, Sean Cronin as well. That he asked after that. It's
I
all good.
love him. I love him. He's a lunatic. He's a man after my own heart.
I
He's a
know, but
creator.
we loved. We talked about that fantastic movie, which he's working on with Toya and yourself.
Oh man, I'm a small keg in that. A keg, a peg, a peg,
A peg, a keg. We're not having one of those, but no. But I saw it. He sent me a preview copy. Give Them Wings. A great movie, really powerful. Yeah, I've seen it.
Oh, wonderful.
He let me have a copy. Yeah, it was very good, very powerful, very moving. You were great in it.
Thank you.
I thought that was wonderful. But what Oliver Stone was saying, same with J.K. Rowling, is one thing saying is that you had to keep on trying and trying and trying in spite of. Everybody talks about rejection. It takes many, many years to become an overnight success. That's what they always say.
Yeah.
So absolutely, I wish you every success with that. I look forward to getting you both on. Get Clive on as well. We'll talk about that.
That would be terrific if we. Yeah, I think he's such a talent, and I think he needs an outlet. You know, he's so clever.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, definitely, we're going to get you both on. Be fantastic. 6.5 years though is phenomenal. How are you going to celebrate?
In my head probably. You know, I'll probably sit down and say, "Well done, boy." You know, I don't need much more than that. I mean, yeah, it'd be nice to have some friends around sometime, but you know, I'll just sit there and go, "Yeah, it's 6.5. Yeah, let's get on with something else now." You know.
Brilliant. Well, Jonathan, it's been an absolute delight catching up with you. Thank you so much for joining me, and congratulations again.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, it's 6.5 years. Yeah, it's if I would advise people to give that shit up. I'll tell you one thing I will say, just on my parting word. If I hadn't given up, I would be dead. And I don't think the quality of work that I do now, I don't think the quality of work I did then would even matches anything I do now. And I was winning awards in those days and things like that, you know, but I don't know where I go now. Who knows? But it's more exciting. But I don't want to stay. I'll stay where I am. Thank you very much, and we'll see what happens in the future.
Fantastic. Well, you're going to come and tell us what happens in the future. But for now, Jonathan, thank you so much for joining me.
I tell you, I'll be in the present, so that's good.
I love it. Even better. The present is a gift, as you rightly said.
Present gift. Yeah,
it's going to be good. Jonathan, thanks so much for joining me.
Thank you, Andrew. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Toodaloo. Bye-bye.
So thank you to Jonathan Hansler, my special guest, and congratulations to him on 6.5 years of being dry. Something very important to him. And I know many people, because you've written in, have been affected or still are affected by a lot of the issues that we have been covering. If you need help or support, there is help and support out there. Do get in touch. Also, if you want to be a guest on the program, or you want to be in touch with any of the other guests, let me know. Write to me at guests@octopustv.com. And in any event, do take some sort of assurance that there is help. It's not you being alone, struggling with these things. There are steps that can be taken. People have used different tactics and different techniques which they found of comfort to them. Do try those, and also look at the various references that people have made throughout the various programs. But for me, I've been Andrew Eborn. Thank you very much again to Jonathan for joining me, and I look forward to seeing you next time. Bye-bye.